This is the Lake Mary Community Center, now known as the Frank Evans Center. It is also the Lake Mary Historical Museum. We're going to go on inside. It was built in 1926.
And featured in this large community center is a stage for performances for the local community. And this is the original tin ceiling in the museum. This cloth was for a fundraiser for a church that had burned, and attending the fundraiser was President Calvin Coolidge. And you can see his signature here. It was embroidered over the signature. You can still see the pencil marks in some areas. This is a display on the family of Frank Evans, the man who built the building, and it's his home. And here's a portrait. And Dr. Evans' medicine box, including ether and suction. Violin. It's one of Frank Evans' violins, and this dates to the 1890s. This is Frank Evans when he served in the Spanish-American War. And a publicity photo of Frank Evans performing in the Bailey and Duggan Circus before it merged with P.T. Barnum. Okay, so he was actually a circus performer too, so very fascinating. And an old camera, Graflex camera. And Frank Evans and his wife. And on this display are some of the founding families of Lake Mary, including the Humphreys. And here are the Dunns. And these are the Sundells. And this is the Reverend John Frederick and his wife Mary, which Lake Mary is named after, Mary Sundell. And John Tanner and John Fortier, some other founding members. And some items dating back to the past of Lake Mary. The Atlantic Coastline Railroad spittoon. And a sausage or a lard press. I don't see too many of those these days. This piano dates to the 1920s. Typical parlor room piano and the sewing machine. Looks like it also dates to around the 1930s or 40s era. An old safe. And two typewriters. This is an Underwood typewriter, and this is a Burroughs. And this is a Burroughs adding machine. This safe was used at the Gleason store, built in about 1925. This pulpit was handmade by early Lake Mary pioneer John F. Sundell in 1911. And like all communities, Lake Mary sent a lot of its sons to fight in World War II. And some of these are some items related to that service, including a canteen and belt. Some historical items relating to the Lake Mary Police Department. And these items belong to the Lake Mary Fire Department, fire hose nozzle, dating back to the 1950s, and a fire helmet. Other articles on an old iron toy that were popular back in the early 20th century. In the Lake Mary school system, one of the early classes, commencement of 1927 actually. Old Dick and Jane Reader. This is the 4th edition from 1956. And some fraction and percent cards in English literature. This display highlights the railroad industry that passed through Lake Mary. including some vintage lanterns. And this display talks about the nearby Crystal Lake area, including the starch factory at Lake Mary, the Crystal Lake Casino and Bathhouse for the tourists, and cassava, which is a wild cassava, been a staple of the Indians who lived here long ago, and they ground the root to make tapioca for pudding and soups. And nearby in the Big Tree Park was the Senator. And this is an old postcard picture. Unfortunately, the tree was burned in arson, but the museum has an artifact, an actual portion of that tree. And this is the portion of the Senator that the museum now has in its possession, including a sculpture into the cypress. And if you look here, you can see the burn marks. Sadly, this tree is lost to us.